Very good afternoon, Dr. Sabrina. Today we have second last session of our workshop on practical exposure on accounting analytics and entrepreneurial skills. We have completed a long journey of learning. Specifically, we are getting lectures on various skills which are essential for all the commerce and finance students, either for enhancing their skills as a venturist, skills as a person who is going for further study, or for getting the placement. Different kinds of these skills have been inculcated with the help of this workshop. Today, we have our esteemed guest, Dr. Sabrina Jasmine. I will request Dr. Vidhi kindly give a welcome address to our esteemed guest.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, ma'am, and students present over here. And I, on behalf of MET College of Commerce and Finance, MET University, I welcome Dr. Sabrina Jasmine, and she is healthcare entrepreneur, a marketing influencer, UN speaker for women's empowerment, and he has won various awards including medical scientist. She is also consultant, advisor, advocate, lead generation, public speaker, and women health promoter. She is PhD, FRCP. When we go through her qualification, the list is very large. So I welcome you, ma'am, to this session, 15-day online workshop on practical exposure on accounting and entrepreneurship skill development. And you can start. I hand over it to you. Welcome, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much. Actually, it was a bit sudden today but anyhow, I have been preparing my slides, so I will start my talk today. Okay. Actually, as our student introduced me that I am from healthcare. Yes, I am from healthcare, and I am very much delighted to be here. Last time also I was in the literature festivals. There I was panelist for 2 times. Also, I was guest of honor, and also at the closing ceremony, I was invited speaker. So I think that with Amit University, I developed a close relationship, and now Dr. Vinay every time is asking me to join as online lecturer for the medical college that will be established soon. Okay, I have direct contact with her almost every day. And in the LinkedIn, we are in the same group. So she developed a group there. She is always in contact with me in LinkedIn. Okay. So today I will talk about every person takes drug for their life. Okay. So it is the essential part of life. Without drugs, I think our many medical conditions cannot be resolved. So in healthcare, when there is a patient, we need drug. Even if we go through surgery, we need drug. If we have any problem, nutritional, we need drug or medicine, supplements. So in medical science or healthcare is completely based on drug. So drug, we can say it medicine, we can say it food supplement. It can come through you to different ways. Okay, so today, as I am from healthcare and I am not completely the persons from accounts or finance. So I will talk about just on the midway, so that students can at least get some insights that they have also some options in the healthcare as a for their career development in future. Like I can say that in every pharmaceutical company, there are a lot of medical representatives. That is called MR. So most of the people come from the finance background. They have MBA or BBA, and you know that there is a special entity in the healthcare that is called hospital management. Okay, so many people specialize in that field. Also, medical tourism is now very famous. Many persons from account, finance, commerce, they come to this field. So healthcare is strongly connected to finance and accounts. And without the specialization and the dedication service of the account specialist, healthcare cannot move on. So today, just I would like to give you a very simple talk that how much we spend sorry, to how much we spend time to develop a drug, and then what are the steps we overcome in developing a drug, and when we need the specialty for the finance and accounts, at which stage of the drug development we need them utmostly. Today I will talk a bit on that. So here you can see that actually to develop a drug, we need more than a decade. Its average time is 13 years. You can see paracetamol, okay? When you have fever or you have diarrhea or you have cough, you take the medicine easily, but you never know that how this drug comes to your hand so easily, okay? And usually we screen many components, many active ingredients, many chemical compounds, that which can be a possible candidate for a drug of fever, for a drug of diarrhea. So only for the screening purpose, we spend more than 6 to 7 years. And that is completely lab-based work that we do in the laboratory at the cell stage level. And so the selection of a candidate that has some effects for fever, it is not by just if you say that, oh, this medicine we need for fever, but you never know that how much efforts, how much money, and how much time are spent to just find a candidate that this candidate may have some effects to reducing the fever when you have fever. So we start with biochemical mechanism. We spend a long time to find a candidate, and then we try to dissect the mechanism, how this candidate molecule can reduce your fever. Now I am talking an example that like fever. So it takes more than 3 to 4 years just to understand the mechanism, how this chemical compound has the effect to suppress the fever. Okay. So we nowadays, with the advancement of the technology and innovation, we healthcare people, we believe in innovation. Even when I talk to you, that is also innovation, because you can give me a new insight that I don't know. And I try to prove that what is the validity of your new opinion or new insight. So healthcare at every and each step, we cannot talk without the word innovation. Okay, and technology is our integral part of developing a drug in healthcare. Healthcare innovation and technologies are very closely related term, and without this technology, innovation, advancement, creativity, thinking, labor, then finance, without these crucial components, we cannot move even a single second in healthcare. So finance is very, very important part in healthcare, especially how do you calculate the benefit and risk. We need finance people for that mainly. You give me the estimation. These are the relative and absolute risk. And these are the benefit you can get from this innovation. And then only the product can move forward, like different phases of a clinical of developing a drug or medical device. So when we find a target, then we try to use that chemical or compound in animals. We start with small animals like mice, then rats, and then gradually we go to very high level animals like pigs, dogs, cows. So we find a candidate through the genetic approach. From 50,000 gene screening, we find one candidate. And only establishing this candidate, we need 3 to 4 years time. And we never can calculate that how much money we spend for that, because all are the state-of-the-art technologies, the most advanced technologies in the world. Then we tested the candidate in the animal levels. And if we can reproduce the results that we find in a single cell, like fever, we want to validate the chemical at first in a brain cells, because in our brain there is a temperature regulatory system, the temperature regulatory centers. So if that compound works in the brain cell, the target cell, which is controlling your body's temperature, then we can test the chemicals validity to suppress your fever in animal levels. And if we are successful in the animal modeling testing, then we think we should use this candidate for human. But there is the ethical issues. You are attached with a medical innovation related job in the terms of finance specialist. But if you don't check whether this protocol is ethically approved or not, and if you work blindly, people are very selfish in the healthcare. They always blame other people. So my advice to the student is that whenever you get an internship, or when you get attached with some pharmaceutical companies or any companies related to innovation and technology, which will be used for the human being, never forget that you must have the ethical clearance to do anything related to that project. Then we try to understand that how these chemical compounds works in the human being and what are the side effects, how safe this drug can be used for the human being, because with human life you cannot play. So after we do at first at cell, then we come to animals, then we come to the preclinical drug development stage. You can see here, we are not selecting many patients who have fever. We are selecting only few patients, or even we can use that drugs for our own families, own friends, or our staffs, that whether this candidate has any anti-fever action or not. So that is called the preclinical drug development validation. Once you complete your studies at the cell level, then you do at the animal level, then you come to the preclinical drug development stage that should be confined to very small scale human, because you never know whether it will work safely with human being or not. So usually if we think that how long does it take to come a drug to the market, can take up to a decade. But for my experience, it cannot come to a market only in a decade. It takes more than 2 decades. Even a person's employment life may end with the development of a drug. Okay. Then active ingredients undergo several stages. We need in-depth examining, and we also need a lot of research and developmental works. And for any research project, healthcare is the largest field which has uncountable research projects. So any person from finance, any student from finance, any person from accounts, they are invited to take part in the team, because without the estimation, without the balance control, without the proper financial implementation plan, we cannot carry out any project in healthcare. So usually here you can see that to develop a drug, it costs usually 2.6 billion US dollar. And for the post-marketing surveillance and developing cost is around 312 million USD dollars. So it's very, very expensive. And of course, we need a very talented person for the finance part who can make a very good financial implementation plan so that the finance of the project is not damaged. The project can get each milestone in time with the defined budget. So the finance accounts people are very important for our healthcare, any types of work. So here just I am saying the same thing, that we go through multiple process, and this is money based, finance based. Without finance, we cannot do anything for the healthcare innovation and technology. So we need the future generation, very talented, who can make a very cost-effective plan for developing a drug. Because for human being, for the developing countries, if you can save a lot of money through a cost-effective implementation plan for developing a drug, then you can use some money for the developing countries people who don't have money to buy the medicine. So these are the social corporate works, even closely connected with the finance and accounts people, because only through your kind hand, talented hand, creative hand, we can serve the society. So here you can see some sentences about the developing assay and screening. Assay development is needed for evaluating the impact of clinical compounds on cellular procedures of interest. And that I already talked to that. We need a lot of things: quality control, reproducibility, then impact of the compound, whether it has the proper chemical structure that may not have any strong interactions with other important parts of the human bodies. So these days, you know that people depend on robotics, artificial intelligence, even for the mixed type reality. These days, through only the images of histochemical images or MRI images, we even don't know the human hand. AI can detect whether your lung has stage 4 cancer or whether you have cancers of bone or brain cancer or something. AI has been strongly replacing the human jobs, human employment. But from my personal perspective, I don't like these technologies, because human cannot be replaced by AI or robotics. So we need your hand, we need your creativity. Now, market is becoming very, very competitive for this artificial intelligence, robotics, machine learning, deep learning. This type of innovations are mostly attacking the healthcare sections. But healthcare cannot cope with these new innovations, because human being the drug selection criteria, or adverse effect or any side effects of a drug. For example, you take paracetamol for your fever, but it doesn't suit to your body, then AI can detect now. Then where human being will go? In which part of the employment areas you can develop the career? Now, this is a crucial issue to solve. So here almost the same thing we are talking about, that we are very careful about the side effects of a drug, how the drug acts, the mode of action, whether it is suitable for a human being or not. So these are the very, very crucial parts related to a drug development, and also for the marketing. Okay, so we want to have very, very biological active component, and we always think for the developed and developing countries, because we always think that healthcare is not only for the developed countries people or the people who have the money to go to the private hospitals, clinics. This is our big concern. So we need a big change in the healthcare with the replacement of the talent new generations, because if you don't have the money, even you cannot go to the healthcare facilities to have the proper testing. So whatever we invent, discover, we always think the word affordability and the context specific. So then we try to come after a small preclinical phase of testing the drug, we try to come to a large clinical trials. That is called the clinical phase 2. This is the largest clinical trial phase, where we recruit a lot of patients who have fever. And we want to investigate that whether how many percentage of the patients who have the fever, they are becoming good with this drug. So that is another very critical part. I have seen many interns at the hospitals. I work in Japan for 26 years. So I have seen a lot of interns at the clinical phase 2 clinical trials for the drug development, because this is the largest budget oriented work. So how you manage a lot of patients with this drug which can reduce the fever? We need very, very cost effective and creative finance idea with target milestone. That should be the very, very time demanded and with less finance. Okay, so when there is a project that this drug is entering the phase 2 clinical trials, then there are a lot of job opportunities for at least 3 to 5 years to implement the financial part for the phase 2 clinical trials. So you people who are from the finance or accounts, you are needed at each and every step of healthcare. So here I am saying that in each step of the drug innovation or any medical device innovation, we check the side effects. We also check the gender. Here you can see whether the drug works in a gender specific manner or not, whether it has any relationship with age, whether it has any relationship with the race, even with any relationship with the continent, also the genetics. So here you can see that again, that this is the very general conversation about a drug innovation, that we try to investigate the toxic part of the drug so carefully. So even if you are employed in any clinical phase, accounts-based job, please try to put your most of the efforts to find out the side effects of the drug, because one side effect may damage your efforts for 10, 20 years. So this is my advice for the students from the finance and accounts faculty. And also when you innovate a drug, there are some words we say pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics, how the drug works inside the body and what are their side effects and how long the drug has effect inside the body and whether the drug can be eliminated out from the human body safely. So when you are attached with any clinical research related position, please take care of all these situations. These are very important. So we also do the toxicological study in a different context, that how much toxic effects that the drug has and how this expressed as an external expression, that is we call phenotype, that how it is phenotypically expressed in the human after having a drug like which can reduce the fever. So also there are some important parts that the students from finance and accounts should know, that how you deliver the drugs, whether it is oral, whether it is through blood, whether it is through your stomach, that is we call intraperitoneal, and then whether it is through the injectable form, and whether the injection is done on the muscle, or whether it is through the artery, that means blood vessel of our body, or whether it can be capsule or tablet. So the mode of drug delivery is very important for the people who are engaged with any clinical drug development project. So this is the thing. So there are many routes that you can inject a drug, or you can recommend a drug, even at the stage when the drug is not still marketed. So another important thing is that finance people, accounts people must be the part of the team which will discuss about the drug's optimal effects, that only with these doses, this drug can affect. Pharmaceutical companies or clinics or hospitals should not give much more dose to the patient of that drug that can be working at the optimal level. So that is another important part the finance account student should know. And also when you complete the cell study, animal studies, phase 1 clinical trial, very large, big phase 2 clinical trials, and you have very good results, then you try to think how I can get the approval. Sometimes we employ only some people who have MBA background, Masters of Business Administration, who are very good at project writing, who are very good at financial calculation, that we want to have them in our team, that now we know this drug is safe. Through the clinical trials with ethical approval, this drug is not still marketed. We need you to make a plan how we can get approval from WHO, World Health Organization, how we can get the approval from the FDA, Food and Drug Administration of USA, because without these validated authorities, you cannot market the product. So we need, nowadays, many healthcare people do another masters in the business section. They do the MBA in healthcare management, then hospital management, only to speed up their approval process so that they can have all the qualities. They can see a patient, they can prescribe a drug, they can see you every day, and they can also make the financial plan for the project. So when you develop a drug, then you need to do something on IND. Next slide, I will explain about that. So IND is the investigational process for a drug. You have completed all the basic studies for developing this drug, and now you are thinking that you need to have the permission to market the drug. Then you need several applications to get the authority from the world authorized places so that you can freely prescribe the drug to any patient. So IND is that IND can be classified as a commercial or for research. Specific areas have to be covered for IND applications. This application is very hard to write. We need very special type of people to write. The people who do the clinical works every day, seeing the patient, they cannot do it. So many people now have the MBA, even they are in the healthcare. So we need you also to write the application for the IND, application for the FDA approvals, applications for the WHO approvals. So when we completed the phase 2 clinical trials, then we conduct another clinical trial that is called phase 3. But here you are open. You can use this drug, you can prescribe this drug to many patients. And after the main story, you have successful phase 3 clinical trials. You have the approval from WHO, you have the approval from FDA, you have completed all the investigational procedures to develop a drug that is called IND. Then what is the next? So you completed all these basic steps, okay? Then you market the drug because you have the approval from WHO. You have the approval from FDA. And your project, your drug development works is very much well audited, well investigated by the global society. You don't have any problem. Your each milestone has the proper objective purpose. It was within the defined budget. It was within the time context. Then you market the drug. Okay. And then the main issues. Again, we need the people from accounts and finance, because when there is a drug in the market, then we need sponsor from different phrases. Okay. We should have an agenda that the drug is marketed now, then how we can calculate the risk and the benefits. And this should be in the multiple organizations. Within a very defined team, you should have a manager, you should have a sub-manager, you should have a lot of senior mentors. Okay. And there are many places which will be attached with you for the post-marketing surveillance, because now you need to feedback from the patient. You need to feedback from the clients, from the clinics, from the hospitals. It should be at the global level. And that is the main place where I see a lot of intern from the finance with BBA, with MBA. They came to us to have their internship with this marketing surveillance. So we just guide them that we are attached with these clinics, these hospitals, these pharmaceuticals. So one student who came to us for their internship, they go to one student maybe, or one just fresh graduate maybe for just one clinic. You go to that clinic every day. You see how the clinic is using the new drug. What is their benefit? That means whether the drug is well used or it has a lot of side effects. Some patients are going to ICU, intensive care unit. Some patients have emergency problems. And then you think that how we can solve these issues. This is the post-marketing surveillance works. It's mainly done by the people from finance and accounting and this how to say that, the commerce related background person, because it is not our capability to assess a market whether the drug is running smoothly from the patient perspective, from the clinic's budget perspectives, for the finance of the patient, for the finance of that locality, for the finance of the pharmaceutical companies, for the finance of the healthcare institutions. So this is a very big work and it has a very big impact in the current market. People come from finance accounts to work with us. Then we say, please do this. We are not very good with this field. So please try to make a plan how you want to do the post-marketing surveillance. The drug is already approved by the WHO, by the FDA, and now the drug is in the market. You are appointed for this clinic. So you go there every day and you gather the questionnaire for the feedback from the clinic staff, from the patient, from the patient's attendant, all types of, at all levels, we perform the examinations and investigations whether the drug has a safety position in terms of toxic effects, side effects, finance, patient's compliance, patient's compatibility, and also the people attached with this work. So financial aspect of a drug development is very, very crucial for healthcare people. And here you can see it has several financing mechanisms. A drug development has to include multiple partners. Primary investors can vary at different stages of drug development and discovery. And activities of post-market surveillance is receiving and acting on user feedback. Manufacturer must allow users and patients to provide the feedback. Transparency here is a very important thing. Many pharmaceutical companies, they don't want to publish the side effect of the drug. So many times I quit many projects because I cannot sell my honesty for the human being, for any pharmaceutical company. And why we carry out this? To find out whether any new hazard situation has developed. Has there been any misuse of the product? Has any drastic side effect occurred? Is there any medical device malfunction? So here you can see a summarized picture that we need to have the transparent feedback at different levels of people from multiple dimensions. It cannot be just a single road oriented that we talk only for the pharmaceutical company. Never do that. Then you sell your honesty and somehow it will come back, because if you exploit with the patients for a drug, you have to get the natural punishment some days. This is my experience from 26 years career, not my medical education, not my internship, it's after that. So here you can see that there are multiple issues for the post-marketing surveillance. I have been attached with here you can see this is SDI lab. This is situated in California, and I have been working with them for remotely, and I have been attached with their post-marketing surveillance stage. And at some stages, I found that they generate drug. They delete the patient information. Then I quit the place. So there are many stable format, internationally, globally recognized criteria, how you manage the risk benefit for a patient for a drug at the post-marketing surveillance stage. There are a lot of information in the internet which are globally recognized. So here are a summary that you get the information from the clinic. That is your internship work. And you report to your senior manager. And then you learn how to analyze the data, how to validate the data, how to compare the data. Then you come to a conclusion and you report to your senior mentor. So this is a small pitch I could prepare in short time today. Sorry, I didn't have time to prepare for a long time. I apologize if my speech doesn't help you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Sabina ma'am. The session was very nice. Actually, you have given a ton towards the knowledge. These are specifically commerce and finance students. And you have told us the various route ways to start the drug development or entrance in the venture of drugs. There is a one query from the students which we are getting. Either they are not scientists, they are not the research scholars specifically from biotech, but if they want to go for this business, specifically you told them that this must be a kind of system which must be followed by them. There is a very specific formula, will be a laboratory, and how will they manage all these things if they want to start? How will they go with it, because it contains lots of cost? So how will they get this fund, number one?
My advice is that now there are many online courses, of course,
yes,
not so cheap. Okay, a lot of online courses for the subdivisions of the drug development management system. They can get any online course if they have the financial ability. Okay, or my another advice is that if they don't have the financial ability, they can find someone who is the medical representative in the pharmaceutical company. They can be just as a volunteer to help that medical representative who is going to the hospital every day to introduce their health product, their drug product for the safety issues. So in the beginning, if someone doesn't have the financial capacity to get online course, online training, then they can be as a volunteer for any established institution or any established individual who has MBA and who has very strong career for the medical representative to market the drug and to establish the drug for the human society. So there are a lot of ways. If you wish, you can do something. So your desire, your transparent wish, and your hard working, your honesty, your labor, everything are important. If you think that just after getting the graduation, I will be employed at a company where I can get a lot of money. So that's the another system. Healthcare, if you want to be attached with healthcare, you should have very good experiences so that you can easily fit yourself in a highly qualified team.
Yes.
This is my
okay.
advice.
It means they have to depend on the medical representative mainly.
If they want to work just as a volunteer, at first for the educational purpose, they can get a lot of online courses. Now, a lot of online courses for the clinical trial management, clinical trial implementation stage, a lot of online courses. So if they have financial capacity, I will recommend them to get the certification through the online education first. Then they can go for the practical experiences.
Okay, it means first of all, they have to go for these courses, and these courses are readily available on the online.
Online. In Harvard Medical School has a lot of degrees for the healthcare management system. Many universities have. Okay, so if some students are fresh graduate or junior faculties have the financial abilities, they can go for that. Okay, for me, after getting PhD, I got the Masters for Public Health. So there is no limitation to make you qualified to get various types of job, because nowadays people believe in holistic approach, people believe in multidisciplinary approach, people believe in multifaceted approach. So finance people are the crucial part of our work. We always respect, especially for me. Without finance, I cannot do anything.
Yes, and most important thing is that these are commerce and finance students who are attending our session. If they want to go specifically, they may join with the distribution system. distribution
yes,
management, or we can say logistics or the supply chain management they can cover.
yes, yes, yes,
They may capable to do the analysis purpose specifically. They can forecast, they can make the
yes,
budgets, and
yes,
they can keep all these kinds of the records. But
yes,
the most important thing, whenever I am talking about the present scenario, either we are talking about anything, we are talking about stock market, we are talking about crypto marketing, we are talking about different kinds of the commodity market or a physical asset, there is a virtual platform for all these things.
of course, of course.
Yeah.
This is the very, very advantage these days.
Yes.
Very, very big advantage. I am talking to now, I am staying in Tokyo.
Hmm.
If it is not in the virtual Zoom system, COVID has facilitated a lot of online courses. So COVID, in some instances, is very dangerous for human society. On other aspect also, we see the benefits of this epidemic outbreak. So everything
Yes.
has positive and negative sides. Okay.
Yes, yes. It means either they want to know the market requirement or they have to fill the market gap. Because every time the research is required, either they are going to start the distribution of it, they have to file, they have to actually check out where is the specific kinds of the drugs required. In that case also they need the dependence of medical representative, or any kind of the virtual platform is there which may fill this gap, so that they may get the data, what is going to happen, and actual platform through which they get the reality of the specific state, specific country, specific zone or the region.
Yes, I actually suggest the students to go to hospital and to go to
Yes.
the finance department.
Hmm.
How a hospital is controlled, how a hospital is administratively managed, how the
Okay.
finance part. Because if you want to, for the students, I always advise to be a
Hmm.
volunteer first.
Yes.
Because when you have the baseline experiences, then you go for the online courses to get the certification.
It
To
means
be,
the doors are open for commerce and finance students
yeah,
also.
of course, of course. Without commerce and finance, we cannot do anything.
Yes.
This is my prime. Whenever I want to apply for a budget or any project, at first
Yes.
I start from the budgeting,
Hmm.
that I want to do this, and in 2 years, and with these milestones and maximum funding, we can apply this. So what is your idea? So if you don't have so many experiences to decide something, you cannot do it. And to be experienced, even you can be volunteer to serve many high level officials. They will be happy to have a volunteers.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely right. You are. It means either they want to start their business, they can, but the most
Yes,
important thing is that they must have a knowledge.
of
One
course, of
more
course.
question we are getting, for
Mm,
example, whenever we are talking, suppose scenario of the pandemic,
mm,
the data, what is going to happen in each and every country, we are getting from the World Bank.
mm.
World Bank is providing the data. There are other platforms which are providing this data. Either the country level data is also available by the specific platform. So, is there a kind of platform through which they may get an idea which kind of the disease, which kind of the problem, either related to the health or nutrition, it is going to happen. So they may capable to start their logistics for providing the drugs. They may capable to maintain the report on it, and they may start their own venture. Is there any kind of the platform they may
Yes,
get the real data?
I want to add another term actually, healthcare informatics.
Okay.
Healthcare informatics is a new field.
Hmm.
We are demanding many people there, but real medical doctors or nurses, this field
Yes,
is too tough for them.
it is.
Healthcare
Yes.
informatics, how you predict a disease in
Hmm.
next 10 years. So COVID has come to us with many subvariants, with many variants. So
Hmm.
healthcare informatics people whose main basis should be the management part, management.
Yes.
So
Yes.
they can easily understand that how a disease severity or disease pandemic or disease epidemic or disease prevalence or incidence can be forecasted, can be predicted for next 5 years. For that, you can even study the healthcare informatics. This is very related to your field. And
Okay.
another part of your question is that there are many national and international surveys where you can get the data online free if you register to the site. Those data are free for any person for any types of analysis. Many worldwide big health survey. Even in India, there are many national health survey data. So you can get those data with the permission, and you can you can do the analysis for the financial part, that from this national survey of the livelihood we can predict such financial thing in next 3 years or 4 years.
Okay, it means they can get the data.
Of course. There are many sites, especially the national government regulated survey. They can easily get the data.
Yeah, it means this is the platform, and there they will get the data, actual data, real-time data. They will get.
Of course, they can search a lot of places at the global level. Even for India, there are South Asian platform. There are Asian platform, ASEAN, Asian platform. There is WHO South Asian platform. So there are lot of platforms, especially the survey which are conducted by WHO. Anyone can use the data. I have used many times.
Okay, it means these platforms are providing the real-time data on which they may get an information which kind of the drug is required by a specific region, and then they can start their own business. But the most important thing you told us, that all these drugs must be authentic and reliable. These must be checked in the laboratory, because this is a kind of social service. Either they are going to start the venture with the profit, they are going to do the social service. And human life is most important thing. The life, either it is a human, either any kind of the living being, it is most important.
Yes. And another thing, I just want to add a word: geospatial analysis. This is a new field. Okay, many students from any background.
Yes.
The geospatial, the prediction, geospatial tracking system. This is very related to commerce. That you are assessing that after 5 years, which part of the India may have the high index of poverty.
Okay.
So geospecialty is another field that students can choose for their career development. These are demanded fields.
Okay, it means it will be based on the geographical region distribution.
Yes.
What will happen in a specific part of the specific country or the continent, and they may get an idea.
Yes.
But the most important thing is that they have to collect the data on the basis of specifically from the government bodies, regulatory bodies, which must be reliable data.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
They should have the analyzing capacity. Whether you are from finance, whether I am from medical, biomedicine, it is not nothing. SPSS, SAS, STATA, these and R, these four are the world validated statistical software. You all must know. If you want to write a graduation thesis, whether it is qualitative study or quantitative study or focused discussion study, it doesn't matter. You must have the statistical knowledge also to write something, to do something. And you must have the evidence that I get this from proper evidence.
It means either we are getting the data, the most important thing is that analytical software. We must know the analytical software so that we may be capable to get an idea either by implementing the time series, what will happen, or kind of correlation, regression. There are different kinds of the parametric or non-parametric skills, which may tell us that what is going to happen, what is happening, what is the reason behind it, how many people are going to be infected, or how many people are here who are actually infected. Actually, I think we are using this analytical software whenever in the case of pandemic, so that we are getting the actual information. This is a kind of thing, it will happen after 1 month or a 2 month. Not only in the stock or crypto market, we these all kinds of the analysis software. You are telling SPSS data, either R Studio or the Python. These are giving the assistance in this case also.
Yes, yes, very true, very true, very true.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sabrina. It was very nice session. It was very delighted and most important, knowledgeable session, because it is taking us towards another world, which is opening the gateway of our commerce and finance student towards the diagnostic.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And I am very happy to be here once again. And Dr.
Yes.
Vinaya, she is every day talking to me, because Amity is going to start a medical college, and
Yes.
probably I will be joining as a virtual staff there.
Yes, most welcome, Dr. Sabrina, most welcome, Dr. Sabrina.
Okay, thank you very much, and I welcome all students. I am very happy to be invited here, to have you all here, and I wish you will have a very successful career. Amity University will have their own researchful high faculties in near future, I think.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Dear students, thank you to all of you for becoming the patient student, for listening it carefully. And I think you are getting lot of opportunities for it. Stay with us. Within few minutes, our next session is going to be started with Dr. Pallavi. Stay with us. Within a few minutes, we are going to start our next session.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Pallavi ma'am.
Yeah, Dr. Pallavi has joined us. Our today's session, second session, on the second last day of the workshop, is taken by Dr. Pallavi. Dr. Pallavi is an associate professor in Amity College of Commerce and Finance. Dr. Pallavi has done her PhD in HR management on the topic of employee empowerment and organization performance. Dr. Pallavi has experience of 12 years. She has published many case studies, research paper in reputed national and international journals. She is an editor of Global Journal of Management and Sustainability. The area of interest of Dr. Pallavi are diversity, equity and inclusion, employee empowerment, and social entrepreneurship. She has edited many books with international publishers like Amaral, Rivers Publishers. She has many patents and copyrights. Today's session will be taken by Dr. Pallavi on the topic of instruction to qualitative research. It is very interesting topic. Specifically, whenever we are talking about the research, every time we talk about the quantitative data. But the data is qualitative. We are getting the feedback from the customer. We are getting the feedback from our stakeholders. Then how will we get the information as an entrepreneur? Or if we are on the job of analytics, how will we get this information that what is the present scenario of the company? Where is the loophole? Which steps will be taken by the company to improve? Now, I request Dr. Pallavi to start the session. Dr. Pallavi, it's up to you.
Pallavi ma'am is facing some problem in sharing her screen. Students, be patient. Pallavi ma'am is facing certain problem in sharing her screen.
Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Is my video is visible?
Ma'am, your background is visible.
Yeah, Maqsood sir, Dr. Pallavi is, yeah, Pallavi ma'am, you are visible now.
Now you are visible, ma'am.
But I'm not able to share the screen with the
Yeah,
participants.
Maqsood sir. Maqsood sir.
Yes, ma'am. There is a green button.
Yeah, please help
Share screen
Pallavi
button.
ma'am.
I know, sir, but it is showing host only all participants. It is not allowing me to share the screen.
मैम क्लिक करने पे क्या एरर आ रहा है?
Screen is like advanced sharing options, host, participant, that's it. Not allowing me to share my screen.
मैम ऊपर जो टैब आ रहे हैं बेसिक, एडवांस और फाइल, उस पे बेसिक पे क्लिक कीजिएगा मैम.
It's in the view option.
नो मैम, बेसिक पे क्लिक कीजिएगा मैम. ऊपर देखिए मैम टैब आ रहे होंगे ना, बेसिक, एडवांस और फाइल.
Basic, advanced and no.
फाइल बेसिक पे क्लिक कीजिएगा मैम.
That is not visible to me. It is coming in Zoom.
जब हम शेयर स्क्रीन पे क्लिक करते हैं मैम क्या ऑप्शन आ रहा है?
Share screen अब आ गया, अब आया है, अभी तक नहीं आ रहा था. Now it has. I hope, yeah.
Yeah, Pallavi ma'am, your screen is visible now.
Yes, ma'am, now it is visible.
So I'll just take 1 minute more of yours. Just a second.
What's your name? Pranav. Adarsh Prakash.
I'm really sorry for keep you waiting. I am facing some technical issue. So welcome everyone. Today I'm going to take a session on qualitative inquiry and research. I hope I am audible to everyone. So Richa ma'am, I am audible.
Yes, ma'am, you are completely audible, clearly.
Okay. So thank you for patience, Richa ma'am. I'm really sorry.
No
My
problem,
laptop
ma'am.
was not working.
Ma'am, it's a technical glitch. What you can do?
Yeah. So it is about qualitative inquiry and research. Basically, I am a qualitative researcher and I used to write lots of case studies and work on the ethnographic data. So I thought of sharing this idea with the accounting and finance people because usually you people work on the secondary data. So today we study that what qualitative research is, what are the different approaches of qualitative research, how you will get, how you are able to collect the data in the qualitative research. This is the table of content which basically we are going to cover in today's session. So introduction, I'll let you know that what qualitative research is and how it is different from the quantitative way of doing research, which most of the finance and accounting people are doing. Then how you can design a qualitative research study, different approaches we used to follow to conduct a qualitative study. So qualitative study, most popular one is case study, ethnography, biographies, narratives. So all these things we'll discuss. No, I would not say that in detail, but yes, briefly, I would like to share my experiences with you. Then the different data collection method which we use in qualitative research, like we do not only rely on the survey or the questionnaires to collect these data. right? So data collection methods. Then how do we use different software to do the data analysis, and these softwares are something new, right? Previously, if we are working on a qualitative study, then we use only manual things. We use chart papers, we use markers, we use highlighters. So how we can use or do the data analysis or representation for in the qualitative research. And then at last, I would like to link with the field of accounting, that how accounting area or the area of finance will get benefited, or if not benefited, that how we can link the accounting and qualitative research, and what are the benefits if someone from the area of accounting will pursue a qualitative research. So let us begin with the introduction. I have already taken a lot of time to log in, so I will, with not much further delay, I would like to start with the introduction. So basically, what is qualitative research and what it does? So qualitative research is a process of collecting, analyzing, and interpreting non-numerical data. So what do you mean by non-numerical data? When we talk about non-numerical, it refers to the interviews. It refers to your focus group discussions. For example, a company is visiting to the campus, and I have recorded your group discussion in which you are sitting with your friend and talking about, and then I analyze that data, right? So that kind of analysis and collecting data and using various techniques to analyze that data, we call the qualitative. I have not circulated any type of questionnaire. I'm not going into any kind of coding, putting one, two, three, four as a number for your responses, and then put it in a simple software like SPSS and get the analysis. What I am doing is I am making the recording of your interviews. I am transcribing those interviews. What do you mean by transcribing? Transcribing means कि आपने जो कुछ भी बोला, I am writing that thing on a paper, right? Then I use coding. Coding quant में भी होती है, and coding we used to have in qual as well. So we called it theoretical coding. So theoretical coding took place, and then I do my analysis. So previously, as I said, it analysis using manual techniques, but nowadays we have different softwares, right? So those software also we will discuss in the coming slide, that what are the popular softwares which people use to do or qualitative analysis, right? So basically non-numerical data has been used: text, videos, photographs, audio. Yes, photographs have also been used. Your what you call those collages which you made for the actor and actresses in your teenage years, right? So we also used to analyze those collages. So audio recording, of course, I have given you an example, right? So this type of data can be easily analyzed. I would refrain from using the word easily because qualitative analysis is a very regressive word, but this is something analysis which is fun filled. It is not boring. We are not only using the correlation or regression or factor analysis or all the big short names which are nowadays popular in the area of analysis, but yes, we are using very entertaining techniques of doing analysis, right? So we are analyzing the pictures, we are analyzing the audios, we are analyzing the interviews, we are analyzing the focus group discussions. And most important thing in the qualitative research is that I am capturing the emotions of a respondent. The thing, the pause between two lines of the conversation is even important, that that person is using which kind of sentiment when he was giving or she was giving interview to me. So that pause is also important in case of qualitative research. So this type of data can be collected using diary accounts or in-depth interviews and analyzed using grounded theory or thematic analysis. Now, grounded theory and thematic analysis are bigger words for you because you are just BCom students, right? So it is really difficult you to understand that what is grounded theory and thematic analysis. But yes, we can also analyze your accounts log, right? Whatever you have written in your log, I can analyze it by using qualitative research. You need not to convert it into a particular pattern to get it analyzed on SPSS. As it is, I can analyze, and even I can analyze the sentiments of your accountant, right? So this is an introduction to the qualitative research. So next slide will explain about how the qualitative research is different from quantitative research, right? So we'll discuss only two parts of qualitative and the quantitative, and both are enough to make you understand that how qualitative studies are different from quantitative studies. So when you do your dissertations here in Amity, I have seen the few final year dissertations. So basically students focuses on quantitative way of analyzing the things because they have seen that in their life only, right? Maybe if I take the example of Amity, I think 80% people are using quantitative way of analyzing their research and only 20% probably working on the qualitative data. So let's start with the discussion, right? What is conceptual? So conceptual is, it is basically concerned with the human behavior. And I would like to get into the informant perspective, right? I would like to put myself in the shoe of someone who is giving me a response. If I'm taking the interview of a manager, then I would like to see कि अगर मैं manager होती, then how would I react in that situation, right? So qualitative interview is a qualitative studies are about human behavior, and human behavior that is from the perspective of informant. And as a qualitative researcher, I have to ensure that I'll put the things in the same light in which the person has given interview to me, right? I cannot modify them as per my convenience. Now, your quantitative studies are more about discovering the social phenomena, right? What is actually, and basically they work on the facts. It is like a difference between the art and the science. Qualitative research is the art, and quantitative research papers or analysis is basically a science. So they work on the facts. They want numbers in everything, right? So it is concerned with the discovery of facts and about the social phenomena. Now, when we talk about the data collection, so data collection in qualitative study, we use interviews and observations. Yes, I can collect data only by observing you. When you doing your work, I can observe you in the organization, right? And whatever I am putting in my research paper, that is in your language. If I'm writing a case study on any event which is happening in a company, that I should portray that event in the sentiments of the owner of the company, not in my sentiment. This is the crux of the qualitative research, right? Now, in case of quantitative research, what you do in quantitative research, you collect data by measuring different things. You compare A from B, B from C, C from D. So we have different scales, right? Nominal scales, we have interval scales, right? So ranges we have. So in case of quantitative data, we are basically measuring things without getting into the emotion of anything, without considering the human behavior of anyone, right? So basically the quantitative analysis or quantitative studies believe in numerical coding. Qualitative way of analysis or inquiry, they never dependent on numbers, right? They usually focus on the way you talk to me. They usually focus while you are talking to me, where you have taken pause, what probably you have thinking in your mind at that point of time when you have taken pause while talking to me, right? So this is the difference between basic difference between qualitative and quantitative studies or research or way of doing work, right? So qualitative in the simple language is basically the art of doing things, art of collecting data, and quantitative is basically a scientific method of collecting facts, figures, put them in a software. We have various software nowadays, SPSS, MOS, which is linked with SPSS, Smart PLS, which is again the advanced version of the MOS, right? So we are putting things in it and you have handy results. Now, whatever software we are using for qualitative research is basically is not click and get result. The softwares which we are using in qualitative research are only facilitators. You can enter your data into them, but it is up to you how you will analyze them, how you take the emotion of another person, which kind of theory you can relate with it, or which kind of theory you are getting out of your data, right? So use of softwares are again totally different for quantitative and qualitative study. Quantitative softwares are just click and results. Qualitative softwares are only act as a facilitator, right? They will not give you instant result. You are required to practice on them. Then you are able to understand that how they can help in fetching your data and analysis. So this is basically I have taken from a very popular author in the area of qualitative research. So Minchello et al. In 1990, they have written a very interesting paper on the qualitative and the quantitative research. So this is the excerpts from that paper. Now, the next thing in the table of content was how you can design a qualitative research. So before designing a qualitative research, we should ask some major questions from us. For example, what are the characteristics of qualitative research? You should understand that what a qualitative research can do. So you should know what are the traits of a qualitative study. Then why do researchers conduct a qualitative study, right? Why a person wants to get into such a rigorous process when simple SPSS software is available? Then why you are getting into a troublesome process of qualitative research? Next, what is required to undertake this type of research? So what asks you to do this thing, right? So what are the requirements if you want to get into this qualitative research? How do researchers design a qualitative study? So there are certain do's and don'ts which you are required to follow if you are getting into the qualitative study. What topic should be addressed in a plan or proposal for a qualitative study, right? So following major questions are required to be asked before getting into a qualitative study. Now, what are the characteristics? Let's start one by one. So what are the characteristics of a qualitative research? So number one thing is it is exploratory in nature, right? A qualitative study is always exploratory and very open-ended. You cannot give certain options and close your study after it. It is very open-ended and you are exploring different dimensions. You are exploring different facts. You are exploring about different types of community. So it begins with assumptions or worldview, what a person think about a particular concept, or maybe what a group of person thought about a particular event. So it always begin with a assumption. Then it always take place in a natural setting. It cannot take place in lab, right? It is different from science. It is required to be taken place in a very conservative natural setting. If I want to collect the data of Dalit women, right, then I need to go to a village where I can find those Dalit women, sit with them, align with them, talk with them, and win their trust. Then only I can collect the data. So the natural setting is another very important characteristic. Like I have mentioned, it cannot take place in a lab, right? If you want to do a research and you put the researcher and participate in a bottle or in a room, you will not able to get any output from that kind of research, right? So multiple sources of data we always entertain. I will take interview, I will conduct focus group discussion, plus I will also observe your body language, right? So I am not only relying on the one way of collecting my data. What happened in the case of quantitative research, you only collecting data by using survey method, and that is enough. And you can get your paper published at a very good place. You have collected the data with the utmost care by using that software, then I'm sure you are able to publish it at a good publisher. But for publishing a qualitative paper, we have to do a very rigorous work. We have to show them that we have collected the data from the multiple sources. I have taken interviews, I have taken focus group discussions. Plus, I have also observed the participant when they are actually working in their natural setting. So the sources of data must be multiple. Participant perspective is important. I'm again and again saying that I will always represent the data from the side of informant. I will not convey the data from my side, or I cannot modify whatever they have said to me, or I cannot say that that person was saying this thing, but according to me, it should be like that. I have to project whatever the person is saying in the same language. I even cannot change a single word. Even if he used comma while writing something, even if he has taken the pause while saying anything, I have to mention that thing in my transcript. So I hope transcript you all understand. I also explained it in the beginning of the session. The transcript is a written document about your interview. So interview which you have taken, you will listen the audio tapes, you will see the videos, and you will note down everything. So that we call the transcript. Now, holistic view, right? Since we are collecting the data from the multiple sources, we are taking a holistic view of a problem. or we are taking a holistic view of the event or situation or condition, right? So researcher always reflect his or her role, the role of reader, the role of participant in shaping the study. So it should be a holistic view. What your participant think about the event, what your reader may think about the event when he read your paper, or what you think, what you can write about this thing. So it will take a holistic view, and of course it will take a holistic view because you are collecting data by using multiple sources, and you are collecting data from different stakeholders, which is most important. Now it is inductive by nature, it is not deductive, it is inductive, keep on increasing. And it basically build the patterns. I'll show you some experts from my research papers, how I have designed the things in my research papers. So categories and theme from bottom up by organizing the data into increasingly more abstract unit of information. So basically it's like a tree, right? It's like a tree. So we start from few things and we keep on increasing, right? So these are the following characteristics of a qualitative research. Now, for you, this is a table. So all the characteristics of qualitative research, different people, different researchers in the area of qualitative research keep on talking about these things. So these are 4 very famous researchers in the area of qualitative research. So what the Lecomte and Chanchol has to say about natural setting, they said yes, it should be there. What the Marshall and Rossman said, that natural setting is again a yes from their end, and Hatch also said the same thing. Now, what the Hatch said is the researcher is a key instrument of data collection in the case of qualitative research, but Lecomte and Marshall doesn't so much agreed about that thing, because according to them, informant is the most important one. Then the sources of data should be multiple. So your Lecomte and Sensual and Marshall agree to both the point that multiple data sources are really important for getting things done in the case of qualitative research. And framing of human behavior and belief within a social, political, historical context or through a cultural lens. So again, only Lecomte and Sensual say that yes, this thing is important. So all these 3, the Lecomte, Sensual, all are very significant researchers in the area of qualitative research, and they have contributed much to the literature towards qualitative research. So they have given certain framework, right? So analysis of data inductively, recursively, and interactively. So all 3 agree on this point, right? So the qualitative research by nature is inductive. So next we are coming to now when to use qualitative research, right? So you can use, as I said, basically the objectives for every research paper or for every study, we have some issues, right? So when you are focusing on exploratory dimension of the research paper, then you are required to use the qualitative study. For descriptive study, you do not require to have a qualitative paper. Simply the mean, median, mode, the descriptive statistics of your paper can define it. When you are studying a group or population which is rare by nature, right? Like I have given the example of the tribals to you. So if you are conducting a study on the tribal, you cannot do that study by using the quantitative techniques. You have very specific group of people and you are required to go to field to study those people. So when you are studying a group of people with differences, when you want to explore an issue, when your problem statement is very complex, the problem statements are usually considered to be complex when the emotions, sentiments, and feelings are attached to it, right? The quantitative things, when you are required to analyze the number, the problem statements are very simple. But problem statements become complex when the sentiments, emotions get attached to it. So when you want to explore an issue, when you have a very distinct kind of group and population, when your problem statement is complex, when you want to hear the stories and voices of different kind of people, then you use a qualitative research or a qualitative way of research, right? When you want to understand a particular setting, a context, for example, I want to understand the pattern student used to act in my class. So for that purpose, I am required to go through a qualitative study. No quantitative tool will help me understand that why a particular student behave in a particular way in my class. So the following are the conditions in which a researcher may go for qualitative study. Now, what does it take to engage in this form of research, right? It is a very regressive process. Maybe in the time in which you will write a one qualitative paper, your colleagues, your peers, your friends may write 4 quantitative papers, right? Because very easy, the same data set you can use, modify them, fudge the data and write about it. But if I need to write the 2 research papers or 4 research paper, I have to go every time into the field and collect the data, take the interviews, focus group discussions, analyze it manually or using a software. So it's a time taking process. It demand for time and resources plus networking. Since you are required to collect the interviews, then it also calls for networking. Then to undertake qualitative research require a strong commitment to the study of problem. This is the major problem with the qualitative study. Scholars, teachers who are undertaking these kind of study, they get tired and they leave the project in between because it is time taking, it is energy draining, and it requires a lot of resources. Even if you are only going to take an interview, you at least should have an interview recorder, right? Your phone would also work. Nowadays we have a smartphone, but I'm talking about the 10-year back. And then I have a recorder of Philips, which I use to collect the data. So it demand for time, it demand for resources, it demand for strong commitment. Uh, then I would not say that qualitative research can work in isolation. It sometimes takes some lead from quantitative research, and it should not view only as an isolated way, but it is a substitute for the quantitative studies, right? And it depends on the interest of the researcher, that what kind of study they want to conduct. I am a person who is more interested in doing a quantitative rather than quantitative study. I'm the one who wants to go into qualitative studies because I am from the area of human resource management, and I understand that emotions, sentiments, engagement, empowerment is equally important as the profitability of the company. So of course the qualitative studies are the substitute of a statistical or the quantitative study, and I would say it's a better substitute because you are attaining the profits by taking your workforce with you, because you are understanding their emotions, so you are able to better align them with the profitability and the targets of the company. So this is the continuation of the same thing. You have to write long passages. It is time consuming, it is complex, it always want your engagement, and it is the extensive time of study. If I'm taking any qualitative project, it will call for at least 2 years to complete a project. So it is extensive in terms of time and exhaustive in terms of effort. So this is the process of conducting a qualitative study. So it start, although this process is somewhat similar, if you have studied the research methodology course in your syllabus, so you must have studied this process. So this is the something which I'm explaining from qualitative, but the same thing you have studied for quantitative. Now, what only is the difference is the way of data collection and analysis are different, right? In the case of quantitative study, you are only using interviews, sorry, not interviews, but you are only using questionnaires to collect the data, and that's it. In case of HR, you are preparing the questionnaire and sending it across to the people to get it filled. And in case of accountancy or finance, you have some secondary data sources, right? Bloomberg and all this, you have those secondary data sources. So you are getting data, but the process of qualitative study designing is same, but all the components of data collection and analysis are totally different, right? And how you will design the objectives of the study is again different. So it started with the identifying an issue or problem. So when we come to the qualitative study, basically we want to focus on some social events and issue. Like I want to explore how the employees of an organization feel whenever their boss scold them. So it's an event. And for this thing, I have to go and take the interviews of few of the employees and see their sentiments, how they feel at that particular moment when their boss scold them. So this is the concept of abusing leadership. So I have to explore various dimensions around abusive leadership. I cannot get an identity of the fact by taking some numerical data from them. I have to go and meet them, sit with them, take their interviews, calm them, take the schedule for the another interview, and so on. Right? So it start with the identifying an issue or problem, examine the literature in some way related to the problem. Now, this is something, the literature review, which you are used to mention in your thesis or dissertations, which you are going to submit in the final years of your graduation or post-graduation. So literature review is somewhat a boring phase of the research study, you may say, but this is the most important phase, because literature review will help you in forming the questions, objectives of your study. Then pose the questions. Now, this is something which is not possible in case of quantitative research. You cannot pose questions. You usually focuses on the objective, design your questionnaire based on those objective hypotheses, and then start gathering the data. So in case of qualitative research, you are basically first posing the questions, then you start gathering the data, and then analysis, right? So this is the sample format. So we are starting, this is the imperative format. If you are writing any qualitative research, even if in the final year you write a dissertation based on the qualitative study or the qualitative way of working, then start with the introduction. This is the same kind of format which you get before any NTCC in your semesters, right? So it start with the introduction, then it continue with the different kind of procedure. So in the introduction, you are required to write the statement of the problem. You are required to write the purpose of your study, which is at most important for any kind of research. Then the different kind of research questions, limitations, and delimitations you are required to mention. In procedures, you are required to define the research methodology or the research strategy you are going to use for your study. Then there is a data collection process. Data you'll collect by using multiple methods, right? Observations, interviews, focus group discussions, data analysis procedure. So there are different methods of doing data analysis. So every research approach have their own way of doing analysis. I'll show you in the coming slides that what are those approaches. Then you validate the findings, then you narrate the structure, anticipate ethical issues. Now, ethics is something very important. You before taking interviews, you are required to prepare an interview protocol, right? And share it in advance with the company from where you are planning to take the interview, that following are the questions we are going to ask your employees. And if company permit you, then only you can collect the data. And the last and most important thing is appendices. You have to mention your transcript, interview questions, observational forms, and any kind of proposed annexure at the end of your report. So appendices is the most important thing. Now, this is the very interesting and most significant part of the qualitative research. There are 5 approaches. So we'll discuss the different traits of those 5 approaches, and we'll discuss what these approaches are. So 5 very famous approaches of qualitative research is narrative, phenomenology, grounded theory. Now, grounded theory is something on which I used to work. Ethnography and case study. So case study is something which I love to work upon, and grounded theory is something which I used to work in my thesis days. So let us start with the focus of these all 5 approaches. So narrative approach of qualitative research focuses on exploring the life of an individual. If you want to write something, or if you want to explore, or you want to conduct a research on the life of someone, then you use a narrative way of doing qualitative research, right? If we have phenomenology, then by using this approach, you are understanding the experience. For example, I'm asking you how your interview went. So I'm asking for your experience for a particular event. So there can be multiple events, or there can be one event, but I'm seeking your experience of that particular event. Then grounded theory. Now, this is very interesting. Whatever data you have collected from the field, you are trying to develop a theory around it. So this is the grounded theory approach. Ethnography is very important. It comes from the ethnicity. So if I want to study the Spanish culture, or I would like to study the culture of the tribals who used to live in the Andaman and Nicobar Island, right? So I want to study a culture, a group culture, a culture of a group. So for that purpose, I would like to take a kind of a study which we called ethnography, right? So focus is on a culture sharing group. Now, case study is very interesting. A company, you can write something on a company, you can write something on the event happened in that company. You can take an industry particularly. So you are just taking a case and you are studying that particular case. That's why we said, called it as case study, a very popular, I think a very popular and used, most often used in the lay language in comparison to narrative and grounded theory and ethnography. So case study is something in every class of yours, every teacher is giving you case studies. So when someone has a study, a particular event, a particular case, we call it case study. Now, type of problem best suited for this design is, right? So what you are required to do to fit your problem in any of the approach. In the case of narrative, you need to tell some story, right? Storytelling is the way of doing narrative research. Now, in case of phenomenology, you are required to tell the sum total of some lived phenomena, how that person may had felt at that particular time, right? Because we are reading the experiences of people. So you have to tell the sum total or the essence of that lived phenomena, right? You are doing a research on Japan. So you live in Japan for the 2 months, then you are uh, forming the problem around it, right? Uh, in grounded theory, you are required to ground the theory in the view of participants from whom you are collecting your data. Uh, ethnography is about a shared pattern of behavior by the participants of that particular culture, how different Spanish people act or react in a particular situation. So I'm making a pattern out of it and I'm showing it. Now, case study is about if I'm writing a case on a particular company, then I require to mention all the nitty-gritty from the profitability to culture to revenue generation model to a business model, everything, right? So all these are the type of problems which is best suited for the different kind of design. Unit of analysis. So unit of analysis means ki how many people you require to conduct these kind of study. So in case of narrative, we only want 1 or 2 people. It's a very detailed study. You are basically noting down the life experiences of some kind of people. So biographies are the one kind of narrative study in which participant was telling you about him or herself, and you are writing about that person. So the biography of Sachin Tendulkar or biography of Amitabh Bachchan is an example of the narrative type of qualitative research. Then we have phenomenology. So several individuals are required, and several individuals, when they are sharing their experiences, are required. So 1 or 2 will not suffice in case of this study. Grounded theory again requires several people, and we would like to match that how the viewpoint of the following person can match with our theory, right? So it involves different people. Then we have a group. 1 or 2 will not suffice, but many means 100 people are also not required. I just want some people from the group which I am studying. I am giving you the example of Spanish. So I want someone who belongs to the Spain and the part of the my group of sample, right? And case study, in case of case study, we have when we are studying any event, any program, any company or a particular industry. Now narrative have taken their life from the stream which is very popular, and we called it humanities. So from where the narrative concept has come, it come from the humanities. On the other hand, your phenomenology has taken its life from the philosophy and psychology, right? Because we are dealing with several peoples. Now, grounded theory has taken its clue from the sociology, and ethnography is again taken it from sociology plus anthropology. So anthropology is basically the study of people, and case study is taken its turn from the political science and medicine. So these are the basic areas from where these kind of approaches have taken place, right? So next slide, we are coming with after 5 qualitative approach. Yeah. So this is the most interesting part of qualitative research, and the most favorite part of mine, the data collection. In case of qualitative research, you get an opportunity to talk to different people. You are not forwarding them any boring questionnaire to get the filled through Google form and then chasing them that, sir, please fill it, or ma'am, please fill it. Right. So it's a very interesting process where you sit with people, you talk with people, you understand their emotions, you connect with them. So in the first step, it's a 5-step process, and it starts with locating the site and making repo with the respondents. So you are required to first narrow down the field in which you will go and start data collection, right? So locating site means you are narrowing down your geographical location, your field, where you will go, you will sit with people and strike a repo with them, right? Striking repo is the most important thing in the case of qualitative research, because if people doesn't agree to share, if you do not strike a repo with them, then they will not share the required data with you, and your data is their emotions. If they are not connected with you, they will not share it with you, right? Then purposefully sampling. Once you start discussing different things with these people, then uh, once you get to start doing striking rapport with different kind of people you came to know, then you are able to understand that this person is useful for my study and this person's viewpoint are not so important. Then you have a chance for doing purposeful sampling. Now, most of the time, the concept of purposeful sampling is controversial for the ones who are actually working in the area of quantitative research. But we usually justify it by giving the facts that the person who is not connecting with us is not probably providing us full data. So we are eliminating them from our sample size. So purposeful sampling is all about that uh, you will keep the people aside who are actually not giving you the right response and put the people who are responding in a very well way into your study, right? Next, after the striking repo with them and after doing purposeful sampling, now you begin, or now you enter into the actual phase of data collection, and you start with the recording information, right? So recording is the most important thing, because you are not a computer, not a supercomputer, you are a human being. So whatever the respondent is saying, you cannot remember everything. So data collection, in the data collection process, recording of the information is equally important. uh, both kind of recordings we allow. We use audio recordings, plus we also focuses on video recordings, because in videos we are able to see the gestures and postures of the respondent. And in qualitative research, the gestures and postures, their mood swings, their facial expressions play a significant role. So most of the time, of course, we take the permission before doing that kind of research. But we used to record the interviews and sometime video recording with the due permission from the employer, or if the participant is ready to do so or allow us to do so. Sometimes the respondents are not so comfortable with the video recording thing. So with the due consent, we used to record all the information given by the respondent. Then when we get into the field, there are various field issues, right? Someone is not providing a correct information, someone is not in the right mood, someone may not getting the full cooperation for doing something, right? So we need to resolve all those issues before getting into the analysis stage. So we started with the locating side, then we have done the purposeful sampling, then there is a data collection. We were resolving all, after resolving all the field issue, we store our data, right? We, after eliminating all the disturbances and everything, we store the data finally and put it further for the analysis. So this is the basically the data collection methods we used in different approaches, whether it is ethnography, whether it is case study, whether it is grounded theory. We used the following pattern for the data collection. If anyone has any doubts so far, you can of course ask your doubts. Anyone is having any doubt in anything or any question regarding it?
Your PPTs are very much clear and very much, you are just explaining it flawlessly. So I do not think that any student has any query because it is quite understandable.
Thank you, Saricha ma'am. But I would love if anyone wants to ask anything, because this is the area
Right,
in which I would love to work.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
So even after the webinar, I am in Amity. So if anyone wants to ask anything.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I was thinking, as students are having their NTCC project, and this presentation of yours is very much useful as far as qualitative research is concerned. So if any student has any concern related to qualitative research work, then they may contact you. I was just thinking of it that it's our pleasure that you are with us in Amity. So if I also want to ask any query related to qualitative research, then I will also come to take your help, because I never attended a workshop in which I attended a session that is solely for qualitative research. Quantitative research, as we are from finance and accounts, so many workshop I have attended for quantitative research. But this is really interesting, as for the first time I am having interest in qualitative research because of your presentation.
Because that was the objective by keeping this topic, because most of the finance and accounting students are only doing the numbers. And
Correct, ma'am, correct. So I also think that it is very difficult to have a qualitative research work. But after your presentation, I am also thinking of that I can also do
of
qualitative.
course, ma'am, we are working in the same department, of course.
Yes, yes, yes. I will take your help, definitely, ma'am. Thank you for this session.
Yeah, thank you. So there are a few more things which I want to discuss. So
Yes, ma'am.
data collection in the different approaches, right? How there are 5 approaches, as I have told you. Now in each of the approach, the data collection differ, right? So the type of information, how the information is recorded, what are the common data collection issues, how the information typically is stored. So how the information typically is stored nowadays, since I have taken it from the Creswell book, and Creswell book was written in the year 2007. At that time, we do not have so much, we were not so much technically advanced. Artificial intelligence do not exist, right? So how the information typically is stored nowadays, most of the people who are doing qualitative research, they are using, of course, the computer files. They are using their laptops, desktops, and their iPads. And nowadays everyone has their iPads, right? So they are making field notes, memos on those devices. So this is the common way of storing that information. What are the common data collection issues which people face, right? So access to material is something, right? Authenticity of accounts and material, bracketing one's experience. If I'm taking the interview of someone and someone was becoming very emotional while getting sharing those experiences with me, right? For example, I have gone to the field where the military people used to live, and after Kargil war, the family are getting very emotional about all those things, and they were crying by sharing their experiences. But it is my limitation that I cannot show that tear in my research, right? So this is the issue while I am interviewing the different people for the study. So field issues do exist. I cannot record their reflexes. I cannot no, I cannot record how the person has recorded until unless I am using a video recording. But going to the sites like this and doing video recording doesn't sound right from the human perspective. So we always use the audio recording. But in the audio recording, recording their actual emotions is really difficult. So this is the common data collection issue which happen at the time of interviewing. But again, we have protocols that how we can overcome all these things. How is information is recorded? Of course, we record that information in the form of transcripts, right? Transcript, again, writing a transcript, or we also call them field notes, is a very difficult process. It's a time consuming process and very rigorous. You have taken 10 interviews. You made the recording of all those interviews, and now I'm asking you to write those things in MS Office, because nowadays we are working on laptop. So we are making the recording of everything, right? Now, what type of information is typically collected? The documents, open-ended interviews, journals, participant observation, a casual chatting between you and your friend will also get recorded in case of narrative research. In phenomenology, we usually have interviews, right? And in grounded theory, primarily the interviews with 20 to 30 people. नहीं सर, वो रिजॉल्व हो गया इशू, हाँ वो हो गया, हाँ जी वो चल गया, ठीक है. So now the IT people has come to rectify the issue which I was facing at 3 p.m. So ethnography basically involve the participant observations, interview, artifacts, document, and not to forget that we'll also take written, already printed documents of the organization to collect the data. There are certain forms which we ask them to fill. So all are the type of the information we typically collected in the form of all the types of approaches of qualitative research. Now we have data analysis strategies. So there are 3 data analysis strategies very important in the case of qualitative research. Number 1 is you prepare and organize the data. Now data organization is an art which is required in a qualitative researcher. It is not like quantitative research ki ek Excel file hai, you uploaded that Excel file in a particular software and get your results, and then you save your file again, your output file again, right? So preparing and organizing the data, the text data, it can be a transcript, it can be a photographs, it can be a image for the analysis is the first thing. So first you organize your data, then you are required to reduce the data into themes, right? For example, I started my study from the 170 codes. Then these 170 codes will reduce into 70 themes. And these 70 themes will get more reduced further into 30 sub-themes. So reducing is an art of doing data analysis in case of representing data for the qualitative study, right? And you are required to represent the data in a very artistic way in the terms of in the form of figures, tables, or discussion. So when we talk about qualitative research, tables are something which we use to represent the themes and codes, but figure is something which we are using to represent the things more interactively, right? So yeah, before commencing with it, let me show you few representation ways. Yeah, so this is from one of my research papers. So basically I am talking about power of decision making, and this is the network which I form for the power of decision making. So clear objective, right? Adding value to the organization is a cause of consensus, is a cause of clear objective, is a cause of boosting employee morale, and adding value to the organization is a part of power of decision making. So this is one network. We call them decision trees. This is the another one. So the variable is self-determination. Freedom and discussion are important part of self-determination. So discussion is of 3 parts in that organization. 3 types of discussions take place in that organization: meaningful discussions, healthy discussions, participatory discussions. Further, freedom is again divided into 3 parts: freedom of choice, freedom to create, freedom to pursue decisions. So self-determination, we arrived at this particular variable. So this is something from my research work. Now, data analysis and representation in different research approaches. So different kind of approach uses different way of data analysis and representation. So data managing, reading memo. Now, what is memo? Memo is something, first you have taken one interview, and after half an hour you have taken the second interview. So while you were taking the second interview, you will notice that following things were already taken place in the first interview, and following things I can ask more in the upcoming interviews or after this interview. So you prepare a document which we call the memo. So softwares which we are using nowadays will assist you in preparing the memo. They will not assist you directly in analyzing the data, but they have a feature through which you can prepare the memo, and in your study represent those memos. That these are the memos which I have prepared after first interview, after second interview, after third interview. So basically your interview notes, smaller notes are we called memos, right? So it help data analysis and representation in different approaches divided into data managing, reading memos, describing and classifying the things, right? So in narratives, for example, if we take the classifying, narratives help us in identifying the stories. It help us in locating the different emotions. It also help us in identify contextual material which is available in the organization. In phenomenology, it develops significant statement by using from that person and group statement into the meaningful units. If we come to the case study, it uses categorical aggregation to establish the themes or patterns. So maybe you are using thematic analysis, maybe you are using Geo's method. So you are using these things to prepare the qualitative study. This thing we have already discussed. Yeah, so these are the popular softwares which usually people use in the area of qualitative research. So first three, NVO, Atlas TI, and MaxQDA, are the most popular softwares. Quercus and Raven's Eye are relatively new and not so used so far. But the my experience with Atlas TI and NVO was excellent. These both are the excellent softwares and assisting us in doing wonderful qualitative studies. Now, how the qualitative research and the field of accounting is related. So what I suggest is the major area of application of the qualitative research is management accounting, right? Management accounting is an area in which you can apply your qualitative research tools, technique, and of course the emotions towards something. So majorly in the area of finance accounting, you work on secondary data, right? You search the sources where you can get the secondary data. Economic Times, Bloomberg, all are the sources from where you get the data for your quantitative studies. Qualitative inquiry help you in understanding and critiquing the management accounting processes. Since you only focuses on the quantitative numbers, they will also help you in understanding the emotions. Data also have an emotion, so that and the qualitative study will help you understand that story of numbers. It enable ability to address the concerns of practitioners and policymakers, right? You are collecting data from Bloomberg, but you are not understanding on what basis that data has been prepared. So qualitative research will help you in understanding the emotions of the practitioners and policymakers whom are able to create this data, right? Embracing situational complexity. So accounting in finance, people never talk about the situational complexity, right? So what happened in this particular event, what happened in that condition? So qualitative research will increase your area, the scope of study, right? Because it is providing you chance to embrace various things. Critical and reflective understanding of the organization phenomena, right? Currently, you download data from a particular source, put it into the particular software and get the result. So you are not at all understanding the perspective of an organization. You are just getting linkage between your variable and get the results, right? So critical and reflective understanding you will get by using a qualitative study. So this is how the qualitative research and the field of accounting can be linked to each other. So this is all from my side. If you have any question, you can always ask me. You can chat in, you can type in chat box or ask me. So that is all from my side. Sorry, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for the wonderful session. Students, if you have any query, then you can ask. You can write in the chat box. So Pallavi ma'am, I'm very thankful for devoting your time for taking our session today. And it was really an very enlightening session as far as qualitative research is concerned. So I request the logistic team to kindly end the session.